third tallest building in Chicago, but he gives architect Jeannie Gang the title, the tallest building in the entire world by a woman-led architectural firm. Pretty cool. Jeannie Gang is also a Genius Grant winner. That's the MacArthur Foundation. Now, you don't apply for that grant. You know what happens? The MacArthur Foundation is watching people in different disciplines, and if you're doing good work, they call you up and say, hey, you're doing good work. Here's $500,000, keep doing it. And that's what they did for Jeannie Gang. As we get closer, let's talk about Jeannie's design idea. She's going to do more than a box. She has a great idea. She said that her inspiration for the design came from the frustrum. That's the crystal formation you would find if you look at a sapphire. And you see it has that kind of hourglass effect flowing in and out. Unless you survived the 60s like I did, then you kind of see a lava lamp design going on there. There are 6 different tints of blue, green, and clear glass, evoking the ever-changing colors of the Chicago River water. And finally, look at the highest tower, which is 101 stories, and floor 83 and 84. Did you notice that? No walls. That is a blow-through floor to confuse the wind. Because the heavy winds off the lake, you're in the windy sea, they're going to try and knock this building around. What are you going to do with the wind? Yield to overcome. A hero of mine, the late architect Buckminster Fuller, who gave us the geodesic dome like Epcot Center at Disney World, used to start his 6-hour lectures by saying, the wind sucks. And you know what he meant by that? Nothing is pushing the wind. There's really no such thing as a blowing wind. Wind is a high pressure zone, and it's always going to seek low pressure zone. So that floor open is a low pressure zone. So what's the wind going to do? It's not going to beat the building up. It's going to go right for the hole and go to the other side. Now let's look all the way down river to the current second tallest building in Chicago, Trump International Hotel and Tower. Adrian Smith Architects, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, 2009. It is 98 stories, 1,171 feet. Wait, it's shorter than Jeannie's building, but it's allowed to claim to be taller because the architect's design put a needle on the roof, a spire. Here's the deal. When you rate all the tall buildings in the world, you turn to the group. I think they sound like a Monty Python comedy sketch. They're called the Council on Tall Buildings in the Urban Habitats. And they look at it this way. A spire is an organic element in design. The architect minute, you measure it, taking the building up to 1,369 feet. Now, the architect Adrian Smith introduces us to a style I will talk about a lot, contextualism. Architecture does not happen in a vacuum. You should pay attention to neighbors and be site-specific. So this building doesn't overtake the neighborhood, look how Smith is making use of setbacks, which are architecturally defined as a series of step-like recessions to open up the profile of a tall building. Do you see what I mean? I'm talking about how it's cut away to correspond to the surrounding height of buildings. The one on the right, roughly for the Wrigley building, the one in the middle, a little bit to a building across the river, the third one, roughly for the black box in the background, AMA Plaza back there. Look to your left now and up. Great building with crazy wavy balconies is Jeannie Gang's first skyscraper, Aqua Tower. Half hotel, half condominiums. We do mixed use a lot in Chicago. At 859 feet, in 2009, that was the tallest building in the world by a woman-led architectural firm. So essentially, when Jeannie finished her new building, she took the title away from herself. The balconies are really cool. Jeannie found the view first out here and then adjusted every balcony so you'd have something to look at. That's why they're all asymmetrical. 45 degrees and up to the right. Look at that building with the almost mosque-like Moorish yellow onion skin dome. This is the Hotel Intercontinental, which began in 1929 as the Medina Athletic Club, a project of the philanthropic group who call themselves the Sons of the East. You might know them for their hospitals, go-karts, fezzes, and circuses, the Medina Shriners. Now look at that dome. Back in the 30s, they had this great idea. They would use where you see the chimney, that was going to be a landing pad for airships like the Goodyear blimp. Well, let me tell you, that steampunk dream would die with the Hindenburg. Anyone remember that? Dirigibles, Zeppelins, blimps, they all fell out of favor. Kind of a crazy idea. I'm glad they never did that. Mooring a blimp in the city of skyscrapers is the proverbial bull in the china shop. Bad idea. No, Daniel Burnham oversaw construction of the White City for that World's Fair, the Columbian Exposition in 1893. And America, a young country, wanted to prove we were as hip as Europe. So we borrowed all the classical architectural things. We went to Greece, to Rome, to France, to Spain, and that style coming out of Paris was called revivalism. We wanted to show we were as cool as our elders across the pond there. And so the Wrigley Building coming up on our right, I introduce you now to the revivalist style of the World's Fair. The clock tower is the Wrigley Building, 1921, North Face added 1924. Commissioned, yes, by Chewing Gum King, William Wrigley Jr., who was selling Juicy Fruit gum at the World's Fair of 1893. In this case, it is Spanish Revival. That clock tower is modeled after the 11th century Giralda Tower in Spain. The temple portion dates back to 3003 BC, the Temple of Socrates. And it is clad with 250,000 terracotta tiles. They look great, but more importantly, terracotta is fireproof. Look very closely. You see the checkerboard effect again? Charles Biersman uses terracotta like a painter uses the brush. He achieves a shading technique. So there's 6 different colors, and that little checkerboard, I think it's more interesting to the eye for that very reason. Now we approach our Grand Boulevard, Michigan Avenue. We often call it in the French manner, Boule de Mich. It was inspired by the wide boulevards of Paris. Daniel Burnham wanted Chicago to be known as Paris on the Prairie. But let's take it to the bridge. What happened to the bridge? The bridge we call DuSable Bridge, my friends, because we are honoring our first permanent resident, the French-speaking fur trader from Haiti, who started a fur trading empire right about there in 1779. And today you can go up those stairs and find the bust of Mr. DuSable to take a photo with. Now we see the influence of the World's Fair once again with that beautiful building with the cupola or dome and the water tanks. This is the Jewelers Building, inspired by a 15th century Italian monastery, the Sottosa de Pavia, but built here for the diamond trade. In 1926, you could drive your Model T along Wacker Drive, which was part of Burnham's plan, a brand new bi-level roadway with an upper level to get you through the city and a work road underneath, and you could drive your Model T along Wacker Drive right into the basement of the building. Your car was lifted up by an elevator. In the 1930s, the dome up there had a fancy restaurant called the Stratosphere